News coming in now. Lebanon's prime minister has announced that the country will implement a ban on Hezbollah's military activities, saying all such operations are illegal and must cease under state authority. The move comes as Hezbollah, an armed group backed by Iran, has been firing missiles and drones into Israel in retaliation for the killing of Iran's supreme leader. Reports have also stated that Israel has responded just as strongly with strikes against Hezbollah targets across Lebanon. The decision is seen as an effort to prevent Lebanon from being dragged further into the widening conflict between Iran and Israel, which has already drawn in military actions across the region. And now joining us again is Mary Essen, retired colonel of the IDF, joining us from Tel Aviv. Ma'am, any country, any government can impose any sanctions or rules, any document that says one military group can attack another. How effective do you believe this will be? Please.
The first thing is to really call out this new Lebanese government. Until pretty much a year ago, anybody in Lebanon that would say Hezbollah is against the law was immediately murdered. I want to be clear to the audience, murdered, blown up, including prime ministers, ministers, anybody who tried to do so. And the prime minister of Lebanon stated clearly in his voice today that Hezbollah should be against the law. And I call them out and say, wow, what a big difference. Having said that, it isn't happening in action. But first of all, I commend them on the rhetoric. I think that this is a really big stage. And I'm going to ask anybody, do you know any other country that in addition to its army, there's a Lebanese Armed Forces, LAF, that in addition to their military, they have an additional military force that, by the way, Hezbollah, before Israel counterattacked against them in the last year, Hezbollah held a force that was the 8th largest missile cache in the world, all supplied by the Islamic regime of Iran. So the fact that right now they're saying you can't have Lebanese armed forces and then this other armed force that works for whom? For the religious authority, for the Islamic regime of Iran that supplies all those weapons, they're calling it out for what it is. I just want to emphasize that in Iran, in addition to the Iranian military, there is the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. And in India, you don't, I'm just saying. But in Europe, for example, the EU defines the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps as a terror organization. And that's within the Islamic regime of Iran. It's defined as such. So right now, what we're looking at is words, and I hope that those words will bring action, and that will be much better for what we see in the future for Lebanon. They also made some statements about possibly reaching out to Israel, willing to talk about a variety of things, but their willingness to disarm Hezbollah is central.
Ma'am, in your experience, and of course moving forward, what do you believe the consensus needs to be between all these countries to essentially find peace in the future? Please.
I love the question. I love questions about peace. I'm Israeli. I'm going to use the term resolution. I don't expect all of these countries around to suddenly recognize my Jewishness, my connection to the land. I wish they would. What I'd like to see is a resolution that acknowledges our existence here, that allows us to live here next to all these peoples, that allows the Palestinian the self-determination that they deserve. But in this case, we're talking right now about an Islamic regime that puts as the first ideology the annihilation, destruction of Israel as an entity. And what I'd like to see is that that regime cannot come out, say so, and that all of the countries around us, and including India and others, don't relate to a regime that calls for our annihilation. That would be a big step forward. I hope right now that at this stage, the new people who run Iran will be better for the Iranian people and not focused on the destruction of the state of Israel.
Please stay with us. We'll be right back with you. We also have Alessia Selezin, cultural instructor, joining us from Bahrain. Ma'am, I'd like to ask you the same question. What do you believe the resolution between all these Islamic countries and states needs to be? How do you believe Iran will move forward if they essentially remove that title that they have in their armed forces of being a terror group? Is that possible? Will that be a resolution? Please.
So being cultural instructor, yes, and also a multilingual instructor as well. I believe that the key solution to all the problems is a dialogue. So it should be a dialogue between all the countries. I mean, between not only the GCC countries or some other countries such as Iran, yes, and the USA. It should be just a global decision. It should be a global dialogue. That's why all these authorities should do their efforts, should make their efforts and do their best to reach this dialogue as well.
How do you believe this dialogue will come to place? Who are the powers in be that need to get together? Of course, negotiations have been ongoing. Trump essentially offered a 10-day ultimatum. Do you believe that this was too strong, too forceful? He wasn't exactly too patient. What are your thoughts on this entire matter? How do you believe a dialogue will come into place?
So, of course, it's not my expertise, to judge how these authorities and leaders should try to find a compromise, between each other. But still, the organizations, global organizations, and also all the leaders in the GCC, first of all, because you see GCC suffers now a lot, just because of some American bases, Bahrain, for example, or other countries where some American, basements are, but all these together efforts should be put together, and just ask everybody to come to this dialogue table.
Okay. Thank you both for joining us, and now we will take a short break. That's all we have. Okay.